In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a Bricklayer text-based program that when executed will produce the following artifact. Now, before you get started with this, I highly recommend that you take a look at Vitruvia Concept 5, which explains a lot of the details, a lot of the functionality of the Bricklayer library that you would need to create this program. Okay, a couple other things that I like to say before we get started with coding. This artifact in Bricklayer can actually be constructed in a variety of ways. At one end of this spectrum, you could, for example, have 8 1-by-1 red bricks that are placed next to each other to create this artifact, this shape. You could also, for example, do 2-by-2 bricks placed next to each other, or at the other end of the spectrum, one function call that puts a 4-by-2 red brick will do it. Okay, let's get started coding. All right, so I'm assuming that you have installed the Bricklayer IDE on your computer at this point. If not, go back and do that. But once that's done, I'm going to just click on a shortcut to the Bricklayer IDE. I'm going to then maximize the IDE, and so now we have a full screen here, and basically this is a text editor with a couple of extra features on it, and the text editor is similar to Notepad++. Okay, so all Bricklayer programs, in particular Bricklayer Level 1 programs, which are the ones that we're going to write now, begin where you tell the computer which Bricklayer library you're using, and in this case it's Bricklayer, the Level 1 Bricklayer library. So I'm going to also make this text a little bit bigger so it's easier to see on the video. So we're going to open the Level 1 library. And then the next thing that we're going to do in a Level 1 program is tell the computer how big of a base plate, of a virtual base plate that we want. So this defines the region or the area where we can place Lego bricks. So we're going to use, I'm going to do, whoops, typo. I'm going to do a standard 32-by-32 base plate. That's sort of like this 12-by-12-inch base plate that you can buy, the standard one. And so now it's in this base plate that I can place Lego bricks. And I only need to place one. So I'm going to do a put 2D 4-by-2 red brick. So that's the function that I'm calling. And where am I going to place this brick? I'm going to place it at the origin, meaning that the lower left corner of this brick occupies the cell that has the coordinates 0, 0. So that's it. That creates the artifact that I wanted to create. And then last but not least, all Bricklayer programs end with a function call displaying that displays the artifact that you created. So you have this function call in level 1 that's called show2d. You then need to give it a string where the string contains maybe the name of the artifact that you're creating. So this is for human readable purposes only. And that's the end of our program. So now what I need to do before I run it, I need to save it. So I'm going to save this. This could also be done with Control-S. Save this program somewhere. Save it to my desktop. And notice the extension on these Bricklayer programs is .bl. The Bricklayer IDE does this automatically for us. So I'm saving this, and there my program file has this name now, and then I'm ready to run it. So if I run it, if I haven't made any mistakes, we should be able to see our artifact in Lego Digital Designer. And there it is. Now notice that, I would like to point out that Lego Digital Designer is a third-party piece of software, so it is not developed by Bricklayer. We just link to it. It has a lot of cool features that go far and beyond what how Bricklayer uses it. It's a fun tool to use in its own right, but we're using it in this way. But do familiarize yourself with them. There's a lot of options here. Play around with the tool a little bit. Okay, so what I'd like to do now before finishing is I'd like to actually make a couple of mistakes, a couple of typos. So let's see, suppose I had spelled my function, my build function name incorrectly. So instead of a capital D, I have a lowercase d. I try to run this. This program is not going to compile. And so I get this error down here. If you see, it says unbound variable or constructor build 2D. So it says, I'm confused on build 2D. It tells you what line it is, but also notice up here in the text editor, there's a little marker here that tells you where to look. And so the hope is that you are familiar enough with how to write Bricklayer programs that when you see something like this with this kind of a hint, that you can say like, oh yeah, I forgot. I spelled that wrong, spelled that incorrectly, and then you fix it and run it. So it is really good practice to make mistakes and see if you can decode the hints that the computer gives you as to the nature of your mistake. Let me do another one that's very common. People sometimes will make this a capital X instead of a lowercase x. So this is also an incorrectly spelled function name at this point. So if I run this, again, it's not going to work. It tells us that I'm confused about what this is, points us to this in the text editor, and then if you look closely, hopefully with a little bit of help or with some practice, you get good at spotting these sort of simple kinds of errors. We run it again. Always want to end on a good note. And everything is working the way it's supposed to. Okay, great. Thanks for tuning in.